I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
We're on mute. Yeah, now you're good. Now you're good.
Okay. Sorry, I can't be there. I'm out at Gillette Stadium.
You are or you aren't?
I am here. Can you see in the background?
The
Oh, yeah,
Patriots
no,
played on Sunday. They didn't play today.
my background. Whatever.
All right, so we have one.
That's appropriate for a SWAC committee, a nice playing field.
Yes, yes.
Do you have a silence?
Come on.
Oh, thank you.
How you doing?
All right, 7 o'clock. I am calling the Symonds Way Exploratory Committee meeting to order. We have a few things on the agenda tonight. Discuss dog park raised by Mr. Cool, presentation by RPPA, discuss and potential vote on RPPA proposal, discuss on RFI submittals, which was 1, and future agenda and minutes. So I'm not going to assume anything, but I think most of us, if not all of us, have seen Mr. Cool's presentation on the proposed dog park. So I don't know if anybody needs a refresher, but I've seen it at least 3 times. So I am well aware of it. I'll let the rest of the committee.
I don't think he's presented to us, so it would be nice to have him present to SWAC.
He's talked about it, but we didn't see.
But we didn't see a presentation.
No, I didn't say that we saw it. I'm just saying it's been out there for many times.
It's in our pack.
Observe.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, we've all had a chance to review it.
About the past 2 agendas, items, the last 2 agendas. So I'm hoping that maybe it could be summarized because we have a lot of other things to discuss as well tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if, I don't know if Mr. wants to just say a few things on what he's proposed. I mean, that's fine by me. I think we should do that just so we get all up to speed on.
Are we gonna do the same thing with pickleball? We've all seen that, so it's just a discussion on that too.
Yeah, it can be, yeah, it can be. They have a new proposal, so.
I think the other difference is in the agenda.
There was a discussion about the dog park and the pickleball said presentation. So that was the way I was looking at it, because we all have had a chance to review both items, actually.
Yeah, and please, yeah, if you could give us a quick overview.
I think the first thing I want to say is reporter Bob Holmes, Reading Times Chronicle, emailed me, and he said, are you making a pitch for the dog park at Symonds Way tomorrow? So unfortunately, I had to answer him today, and I said, hi, Bob, I'll probably be there, but it won't be easy. Our beloved dog, Khaleesi, passed away this morning. She was the sweetest, kindest companion you could ever ask for, funny, playful, and wonderful with people and other dogs. When I started this dog park effort, I knew how much she loved going to dog parks and playing, running and interacting with other dogs and people there, and I thought it would be great for every dog and their human in Reading to have that opportunity close by in a well-designed, safe, well-run park. I so much look forward to taking her there on opening day, and now that will have to be in spirit only.
So sorry for your loss.
Very sorry.
So sad.
Yeah, thanks for still coming tonight. That's not easy.
I'm sorry.
So thanks for coming tonight. That's not easy, I know, to lose a family.
It's important. It means a lot, I think, to a lot of people in town. It certainly means a lot to me. And my choices are walk away or persist, and I've chosen the latter. So I thank you all for setting this up tonight. Appreciate it. And I don't know how long you want to spend on our presentation, but there are a few high points at least in there that might be worth going over.
Thank you.
That would be great.
So we have just over 10,000 households in Reading, and we have arguably over 3,500 dogs in Reading. Known to Laura Jimmy, are 3,332, and then you figure that we have a lot of dogs that are unregistered, so we're easily looking at around at least a third of the households, or at least, I guess I should say a third of the households having at least one dog. Some households have multiple, and we actually have one household with 5. So maybe we could move on to the next slide. And please interrupt me if you have any questions. Be happy to address them. There are a lot of benefits associated with the dog park for the dogs and people and families, and I think the town in general, even for those folks who do not own a dog. I won't take your time with the details of that, but let's move on. This is very important. Stanton Foundation, which has funded over 40 dog parks in Massachusetts. Most of them, I think, happen to be in Eastern Mass, and they have funded them up to $275,000, $25,000 to design the dog park, and up to $250,000, 90% of the cost of the dog park, for construction of the dog park. So I've been in touch with them for months now, many months, and most recently they said, well, we're shutting down the grant program this December. So it is imperative that if we are to have a dog park and have their funding, we need to have the select board approve the plan and have Fidel Maltez, our town manager, make application to Stanton to receive the money. They have graciously said, we'll give you a little leeway on this because the program is ending. One of the things they have said is, instead of just one location that you can specify, we'll let you specify 2. So we can specify 2 locations in town as potential locations in order to submit our application this December, by December 31st.
Hold on, Steve.
Yes, John.
Who is the Stanton Foundation?
The gentleman named Stanton, I believe he was a Hollywood celebrity,
Okay.
and he had a fortune, and he decided that it would be good to fund dog parks and other pet-related activities. And in fact, if I understand correctly, and Fidel can advise us on this, Stanton funded the two helper dogs, if you want to call them that, or 2 companion dogs that the police department has.
Comfort dogs.
Sir?
Comfort dogs.
They're called comfort dogs, yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. So that I've read a bit about Stanton. There's a webpage about it. Anyone can.
So they're not located in Massachusetts,
They are.
They're not.
They're located here.
they are.
Yeah. And their grants
I just
administrator.
assumed California. when you said-
Sorry.
I assumed California when you said Hollywood.
No, they're located here, and the grants administrator actually is an employee of the town of Arlington, I believe. And so he's well known to Chuck Tyrone and Jim, our recreation director.
Sullivan.
Sullivan, thank you, and some other people. So it's a great organization doing wonderful things, and they can do wonderful things for us too.
Thank you.
There are a lot of features that go into making a safe, fun, accessible dog park. The way you get into and out of the dog park, it has to be safe and secure. The dog park itself should be safely accessible. A number of items here. You all, I believe, received this in your packet, so I won't get into it, but there are some good examples of well-run dog parks in Massachusetts and some marginally run dog parks in Mass. And with what I've seen over the number of years I've been taking our dog to various dog parks, I think I've gotten a really good picture of what we could do to make an outstanding dog park here. So, Fidel? Next slide. Okay, so Fidel has put together a number of images, just aerials of various dog parks to show you a bit about the layout. Half acre-ish is not uncommon, and it's a really good size because at that size, the dogs have ample room to run and play, but they're not so big that you can't see what they're doing, getting in mischief at the end of the dog park. So if we could step through those, that would be great. Burlington, we've been there many times. They've done a very nice job. They have actually put in cement slabs, cushioning, and astroturf. And it's really great for the dog's feet. They love playing on that. They can roughhouse and tumble without getting injured. And that, they have benches and other amenities, and they have a water station, and it's fairly well done for a basic dog park. Next, please. Billerica, I've been up there. They actually have some pools for the dogs. That's the feature that stood out in my mind. So moving right along from Billerica to Danvers, it's kind of big, it's basic. It's around 20,000 square feet, and if I remember correctly, it's one area, although I could be, no, I guess I'm wrong, it's two areas. And again, as I said, it's kind of basic, but it does the job.
Steve,
Yes, John.
did all of the Billerica, Danvers, did they all get,
Stanton grants.
they get Stanton grants?
No, not all of these. For example, Gloucester, which has 4 sections for the dog park, they didn't get any money for it. They did it with a lot of sweat equity in town and contributions. And some that I thought would have gotten funding. When you look at the list, they didn't. And I believe on one of the slides, I put in a list of dog parks that were funded by Stanton. And if it isn't in there, I'd be happy to get it to you. So could we, well, no, actually this is good. As I said before, you want it to be large enough that the dogs can have fun, but not do things they shouldn't. Wakefield Dog Park, to me, seems cramped and really unsafe for the dogs and humans because they're zooming around, and you can easily get a broken knee when the dog hits you.
How big is Wakefield?
Well, I think it's about 10,000 square feet.
So,
Okay,
That's what I put on there.
okay.
So, there's a good example of one that's a bit too small. A gentleman at the Recreation Committee meeting that I attended recently said he had seen 50 dogs there at one time, if I remember the number correctly, which is absolutely outrageous. When I go to dog parks, I'd never heard of 50 dogs at a time. The most I've ever seen, I'd say, is about 12 or 13 dogs at one time. Typically, it's more like 5 or 6 dogs at one time. There's a lot of turnover during the day, and especially at the most popular times, which are early in the morning before people go to work, or if you're working from home, you get the dog out for a little while, and then in the afternoon after work. And like I said, half a dozen dogs is about the most I've ever seen. Well, no, on a regular basis, sorry. 12 or 13 is the most I've ever seen, and 5 or 6 is very typical. We'd like the dog park to be as convenient as possible by car or foot, and of course, if it were smack in the center of town, that would be great because our next slide, I think, shows the dog population. I guess not. I guess maybe didn't we put in the one, Fidel, that has the layout mapped or the distribution map put in?
Maybe not.
Let it, we back up just a little bit, you can see that, in any case, dogs are pretty well distributed all over town, but some locations we've looked at, like the town forest, they're just too remote and in a sense, inaccessible safely unless you have a car. Symonds Way, it isn't that close to the center of town, but you can walk there, sidewalks and all, so it's reasonably safe and it's a popular area of town, so people know where it is. They would recognize the fact that it was at near the skating rink. So there are a couple of areas, I guess, that could be or are options for the dog park. One to the west, and then another, if I remember correctly, Chuck, it's over toward the right. Chuck can correct me on that. Chuck and I have been over to the area on the left twice, Chuck Tyrone and I, to walk it off, get bitten by mosquitoes, and take a look at the texture of the terrain. And it's a little rough, but that's where funding would come in to smooth that out, flatten it, make it nicely accessible. So, are there any further questions anyone might have?
Oh, you go first.
Thank you. You've been working with the town for like a year and a half now, and I know that you've looked at other options, but now you're down to Symonds Way, and is there still another option?
We are looking at Washington Park. Letters to abutters went out today
Okay.
from Jenna and Jim. And so there will be a meeting on November 6th, but you know the area there, and it's a bit cramped, and
Yep.
it's sort of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle to put a dog park together there. Unlike, for example, the ideal choice would be Memorial Park, but of course, it's one of the 15 or so, or maybe more that we've looked at, but there's always been a problem, one sort or another, with the deed, Memorial Park, or with abutters' concerns like Hunt Park, and so on.
So the grant, so if you applied for the grant and you specified Symonds Way, do you need to specify, you're looking at two different areas on Symonds Way, right? So do you need to specify what area, or can you just say somewhere over
I think if
there?
we said, here's Symonds Way, and it looks like we could put it here or here, I think that would be acceptable. The grants administrator, with whom I've talked a number of times, has expressed a lot of support, and he's said, if there's some twist you want to make in how you apply, let me take it to the board. And he's felt that they would be amenable to things such as allowing us to specify two areas instead of one.
Okay.
So,
For me, this checks a lot of the boxes for things that we had said that we wanted over at Symonds Way. It fills a recreation need.
yes, ma'am.
It's not sports, but recreation is a lot more than sports. So it really does
Absolutely.
fill a recreation need as far as dogs and humans. I think it takes pressure off in some ways of what's going on at the town forest. There's a lot of, issues, and they were supposed to go to, the town forest committee was preparing a warrant article about limiting the number of off-leash dogs.
Yeah.
And that they haven't, that's not on this warrant, they pull that and they're still working on that. But I think that it could solve some of those problems with issues with dogs people wanting off-leash space. I've been following that, and a lot of people are saying we don't want, I'm afraid to bring my dog off-leash over there, or for whatever reason. So this, and you know, I don't know that if you came to the town and said, it's gonna cost $300,000, but if you're coming to the town and we were able to get it, you're bringing in revenue to do this. So that was one of the criteria that we said was important when, you know, talking about what we'd like to see over at Symonds Way. So for me, you know, speaking for myself, I see a lot of positive things with this.
That's good.
And what are the next steps going forward? What do you need? What do you need?
Apparently my idea was not original. I thought I had an original idea last July or so when Fidel was giving a presentation about the about the Oakland Road properties. And I learned that night about Stanton Foundation. I later learned that Fidel had constructed a dog park with Stanton Foundation money in Chelsea. And we have another gentleman in town who did the same in Ayer. So we have some experience in town. And it just looks very positive if we can put down on paper, you know, a couple of locations, and then we can choose the specific location later. We don't have to do something for the $250,000 until we are ready to construct, and there are architect's plans in place. So the $25,000 would go toward the architect planning and such.
Thank you. Karen, you have a question?
Yes,
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, Mr. Gould, so much for your passion with this project, as well as I imagine it's very difficult presenting on a day that you have lost your best friend, one of your best friends. I mean, dogs mean so much to each of us. I do have a couple of questions. One is how do you intend to see this maintained from year to year? What do you see as the cost for maintenance?
I think Fidel could address that better, but if we could go to the last slide, or second to last slide. There are really several kinds of maintenance. Reading Recreation, for example, could be responsible for generally managing it, and major maintenance would have to be done by the DPW, you know, fence work, that sort of thing. However, the rest of it, it is very common for dog parks to have a Friends of whatever town dog park committee, or just Friends of Reading Dog Park, for example. And in Gloucester, when you go to the dog park there, very often there will be someone going around filling up the waste bag dispensers, talking to people, telling people, no, you know, you can't have a dog in here without a tag, you know, without a rabies tag. You can't have them in with a spike collar. If the dog is aggressive or the human is being difficult, they can be asked to leave, or, you know, the police called. I think I've only heard about that happening once in the last 5 years. In terms of the cost, once it's done, there are several things that would need to be done. Periodically, the surface needs to be replenished. For example, if it's a pea stone surface, every time somebody picks up a little pile of waste, you're picking up a few stones with it, and then, you know, with weather and rain and all, things get moved around. So you'd want the DPW maybe to smooth it back out, add pea stone or whatever we're using for surface material. If this were Wakefield, they'd be adding some wood chips, because that's what
so I'm
Wakefield
wondering
uses.
if maybe that's something we can find out from surrounding communities that have dog parks, how much the annual maintenance fee is averaging out to. I know that we as a committee are being asked to make recommendations to the select board. And if this happens to be one of the, because we're not making a single recommendation, if this happens to be one of the recommendations, I still want to better understand, does it have to be the money doesn't have to be spent by December 31st. The location needs to be identified by December 31st.
Well, the,
Is that correct?
if I understood your question correctly, the application has to be made before December 31st. And unless there is some real problem with it, the grants administrator for Stanton says you should be fine, we should be fine, and receive the grant monies. Did that address your question?
I just want to make sure, so as long as the application is in by December 31st,
Yes.
will that
Filed
still
within-
allow us to access the money?
I'm sorry.
In 2024, so if we
Yes.
apply by
Yes,
the end of the
Karen.
year, it seems like the funds can be distributed
Yes.
in 2024.
Yes, right,
Okay.
exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew, Karen, are you done for now?
Yes.
All right, Andrew had
Thank
Andrew had his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Carlo, and thanks, Stephen, for presenting. I'm really sorry to hear about your dog.
Thank you, Andrew.
I was just curious, well, one, I'm in favor, I really appreciate all the hard work. I know you've been making rounds and really trying to push this dog park, and I appreciate that. And I think the locations that you've presented all both sound good to me, and particularly the one of the parking lot, where it sounds like, I don't know which one on the SWAC area you were considering, but the only thing I wanted to ask is if you considered, I know we purchased another piece of land when we purchased this area, like a little island of buildable land to the north of the baseball fields. Did you and Chuck Tyrone perhaps consider that, or is there, was that considered just not gonna work, or?
Andrew, the thing about the area that's to the west of the ice rink is that the presence of the building muffles the sounds of gunfire. So when Chuck Tyrone and I were there, the first time we were there, as I recall, we were looking at both the east side and the west side of the building. On the east side, you could clearly hear guns firing, which could be a problem for some dogs, and many people would be uncomfortable. But when we were on the other side, the western side of the building, then it was very muffled, and you just forgot about it quickly.
That sounds good. Yeah, I know my dog might not like that either. But there was another piece of land that is to the north of the baseball fields. I don't have a map, and there's not really a good map, but are you familiar with the piece of land I'm talking about?
Chuck is approaching the podium. I know what you're talking about, and I think Chuck is going to explain it right now.
Chuck Tyrone, Conservation Administrator. We checked out that land for the SWEC committee before, and access to that land is going to be the limiting factor for any buildable structure up there. So there's two wetland crossings. One was 100 feet long, the other one was on conservation land, so we'd have to open up Article 97 land, which isn't possible. So if you factored the $250,000 into 100 foot long, wide enough for a DPW truck bridge across the wetland, you probably owe somebody about $800,000. So it's just not viable. It's a good idea, and a walking path in the future up into that area that doesn't have to be maintained in any way is a great way to take your dog for a walk. I don't think a facility with fences and stone and anything like that needs to be maintained would be a good idea up in that area.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.
Chuck, can you hold on for a
I
second?
have a question for Chuck. Maybe it does. Does a dog park have the same wetland requirements that a building or something else, or is there more leeway with a dog park?
No, there's so without structures, there's as much leeway as anybody walking through the woods would have. If you can get there, go for it. But if we're going to alter the ground and take down trees and create an area that's like a facility for a dog park, then it would have the same requirements. You'd have to, if you're within the buffer zone, you'd have to go to conservation and work through that process. This, the land on the right-hand side that you're looking at for where you first was kind of put together, that has been delineated. You know where the up and dry land is, and if your buildings and whatnot leave some extra land that could possibly maintain a dog park, well, we know that that's gonna be dry already, and we know where the setbacks are. But this land on the left-hand side hasn't been looked at. I went out there, Steve went out there. There is dry land, there's a hole in the fence, and there's dry land, just behind that water feature there. But the access would be to the right of that, where the road kind of hooks around. And then you'd have to take a sharp left into that land behind the water feature. It needs to be delineated, it needs to be explored. It's not 100% guaranteed at this moment. So that $25,000, a certain amount of that would have to go towards delineation and evaluation and surveys to find out what is exactly out there.
So what if you were to say go natural as opposed to bringing in wood chips or pea stone or whatever, would that give you more leeway with what you could do?
I think
Yeah, just grass.
the use would
I mean, what's the
probably,
dog
We're
still
altering
have
the
to be
use, we're
reviewed.
altering the use from natural
Yeah.
to not.
so the fence, the use, even with a natural surface, so no matter what you put out there, it's gonna alter the ground underneath. And that alteration is one of the things that's mentioned in the Wetlands Protection Act. So anytime you do alter, you have to get a permit or at least get some review by the Conservation Commission. So,
Oh, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. I just want to say I'm excited about that location because there's nothing else really out there that we could do for. So if it can't be delineated and there's enough room, it seems to me to make a lot of sense for a dog park. So I'm excited about that location.
unclaimed, no one had a tag on it.
No.
It's like, we're a couple of, treasure hunters and dog park treasure hunters and we found something.
You found it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's an odd shape, but it's great for dogs. Yeah, I'm excited.
It is an unusual shape.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll get straightened out when we get.
I
Well,
drew a line
that
up
blue is water.
Oh, that's water.
It's in back of that.
It's in back of that. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I thought.
No,
we can
it's-
talk later.
Yeah.
So where specifically are you talking about on that? I thought you were talking about the blue, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
water?
that's
So,
water.
yeah, I know
It's.
we don't have any pointers here, but I'll
Go to
just,
the next slide.
so this is a water feature for stormwater. The access would be here.
I gotcha.
There's a vernal pool, but still the access would be here. And then this area here seemed to be dry.
Okay.
Keyword, seem.
Seems to be.
It has to be evaluated. It was
Okay.
dry enough to walk around on. The plants were mostly, pine trees and things like that usually grow in drier areas, was in there.
Chuck, it's not the blue area that says buildable?
That's what I thought.
It's not the blue area that says buildable?
Yeah, I might be a little bit confused. The water is the blue, actually,
See
I
where
put this
the
together,
arrows
yeah.
pointing to the
That's
word
buildable.
buildable. No, the buildable is where it says 13,000. The arrow is just pointing to the word
Yeah,
buildable.
when you get out there, it's a little confusing. There's something in this area that it's like a water feature, but we walked in across from the parking lot, straight in and then this way. So it could be part of this area here, or it could be further out.
Okay.
So you just need a delineation. on it.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
needs
but
to
you think
be
there might be enough,
Surveyed and a delineation.
and you think there's enough land in there to be able to get at least 15
I'm not saying there's enough land. I think there's
potential.
something out there that's intriguing, and if you got some part of this grant, some investigation would be paid for through the grant, and so it would be worth taking that.
It would.
So to have two spots, this spot, Symonds Way, and maybe some other spot in town, as long as we don't have to identify which side of Symonds Way we're talking about, I think it would be, at least good enough to kind of like take the next step.
Steve, when you mentioned, when you were going over the grant, I think I saw
I'm sorry, could you-
when you were going over the grant, I think I saw 90%. Does that mean
That's
we
right.
have to have skin in it?
They will pay 90% of the construction, of the approved construction cost,
Right.
up to 250,000. So if it
So
costs 300,000, we'd still
Could
get.
cost us 30 grand.
Sorry?
30,000 if it costs 300,000, is that?
It would cost,
Uh,
the town
yeah.
would have to raise 30,000
Well,
if it
no,
costs
if it-
300,000.
If it costs 300,000 to construct, the town would need to come up with
50,000,
50,000.
Yeah.
Because they're all,
it's over 250.
Oh, I'm sorry, so
90%.
250 would be 25,000.
If that was the case.
And can you get a dog park built for that? I mean, do they
Better be.
run
it
that?
depends on the terrain.
Yeah.
And the trees that have to be removed, brushes, that sort of thing. And then the conservation people might say, okay, so if you're taking out 25 trees, we want 25 more trees put in somewhere else. Or, I believe Chuck said, perhaps a 3-to-1. You could put 3 plantings for 1 tree. So,
Thank you. So the last time I saw you guys in person, we had a GIS map with Fidel. And you were going over alternative locations. Did anything come from that?
you're talking about what?
Yeah, the whole town.
Simon? Are you talking about the whole town? or-
Yeah, the last time I met with you guys in person, we had a GIS map and we were vetting other possible locations. Did anything come from that?
Well, if you're talking about the meeting that I had with Jenna, Jim, and
No, the meeting was me, Fidel, you and Chuck. You and, yeah, Chuck, sorry.
The Birch
So-
Meadow, you check that out, that was one of them.
well, Birch Meadow came out of that meeting or the one with Jenna, and
There was some neighborhoods, you remember Chuck, there was some neighborhoods that,
Yeah, off of Lowell Street, down towards, was that one we checked out at the
with water department land.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chuck and I looked at the water department land. It's down like about a 200-foot street, kind of far out of town, and I think the abutters might have a fit about it. You'd have to have parking put in internally because you couldn't have it outside of the area. It didn't look like a bad area. It's kind of bowl-shaped, so you can keep an eye on the dogs easily. And there's an asphalt road, as I recall, going back into it, splitting up 2 areas. So you move the road over, or you use this area for small dogs, this area for all dogs. So that was a possibility, but it just kind of died on the vine because it seemed that we'd have a lot of opposition.
Is there,
no, you got it.
Chuck, is it a non-starter to find 30,000 square feet in the town forest somewhere, or is that just restricted? We can't do that?
so I don't know, that should be something brought up with the town forest committee, but inside the town forest, I think there would be, it would be hard to find that kind of space that doesn't have some other tag on it. But getting outside of the town forest, there could be something. But the way I look at that, the town forest, is it's already accessible for dogs, and there's a lot of dogs there, and this is something that the town's trying to do, Steve's trying to do, kind of move that down to a different part of town, and to create 2 opportunities for people. I mean, someone walking around downtown is not gonna walk all the way up to the town forest with their dog.
Right, but I heard earlier that there's some movement to restrict dogs in the town forest.
Yeah, I've been talking to, is it Jim Sullivan, the
Yeah.
chairman of the, yeah. And we started talking about this a year ago, about the professional dog walkers and people coming in with multiple dogs, all off leash, and being a problem or being perceived as a problem. And they've been working on this now for a year on the idea of what to do about restricting number of dogs and should they all be on leashes or you have one off leash at a time. But going back to using the town forest for a dog park, you can't get there without a car. It's completely unsafe to walk down Grove Street. You know, sometimes it's unsafe to drive down Grove Street to get.
I mean, you can use the same argument for Symonds Way. I mean, you live near me. We can't walk to Symonds Way.
No, we can't.
Prospect Street.
You can't. But in terms of safety, getting there, Symonds Way is a lot safer than the town forest. And one of the original thoughts was use the big field at the town forest for a dog park. But, you know, unless you have a car.
Is that the one when you come right into the entrance there?
Yes, sir.
That used to be the water treatment area.
Yeah, there was a water treatment plant there. That came up before, and other things have come up in that area.
Little League Field, I remember it came up.
The Conservation Commission didn't want additional parking and didn't want some other things, so I mean, that hasn't been discussed as a dog park location. But some of the problems from before was parking, was use. Outside of those areas, it's protected. It's protected land with MISA, Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, and so that's not exactly in the Water Department open space area, but it's elsewhere in the town forest. But there are dogs there anyways. But you know, I don't want to take any conversation that might have with the town forest committee. But I know that water treatment area was discussed and may have been you know, asked to not be there by the Conservation Commission. So you know, how I see this is the best opportunity is something that's already developed, like a park, like an existing park, like an existing open space with parking. We start adding parking in, clearing land, putting in trees, going through all this process with any other committee. It's going to take more time and more, you know, more funds. So something like Washington Park or Hunt Park or some other park like that, Memorial Park, those are great. But Stephen's been there and he's really tried to find, you know, the best opportunity he can. He has another meeting coming up with the Recreation Department, and he's going to talk about Washington Park, and we'll see where that goes. But the opportunity here is to have 2 spots chosen, and then to see what happens from there. And like we said, this second one at Symonds Way, I see this as 2 opportunities at Symonds Way. You have a bunch of things that you want to fit into this odd shaped area that you know is not that you know is all dry. So there's an opportunity based on what you can actually fit in there that's just kind of like rectangles and whatnot in parking. So there may be an opportunity there. Plus, across the street, the spot that we found should be looked at. I'm not saying there's anything there, but it'd be worth spending some money on a survey and a delineation by wetland consultants just to see what happens. So that's pretty clear that there may be an opportunity there. Washington Park, we have the support of Jim Sullivan and Jenna, and both of them think that there's an opportunity in that area. I don't know what the name of that street is that it's next to, but we're going to go to that committee later. So I think the best thing for the town, and you know, it seems crazy, like, well, why does the town need a dog park? Well, I think people, you know, I think there's some people that don't like the open space, don't like going down to the other side of town, and would like to go to a dog park just to socialize. In my town, when you go to the parks, when you go to soccer, you bring your dog. It's part of the family, it's in the car, you watch your kids play soccer, and you can be at the dog park. It seems like it's very natural. You spend a couple hours there and then you go home. So it would be great if it could fit somewhere in town, but I know a lot of people are trying for all these little spots, but you know, Stephen's really worked on this for a while, and if there was another spot, we would have looked at it. So,
No, thank you. If you, yeah, did you?
No, I just wanted to correct, it's the town forest committee that's actually been working on restricting access to the number of dogs. It's not the recreation committee that's doing
Did you
that.
say the recreation committee?
You did, yeah, it's the
Oh,
town
I'm sorry.
forest
I
committee.
meant the town forest committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So if no one else has any questions, thank you, Stephen. We all appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and I would be so pleased if you all saw fit to recommend to the select board that Fidel be authorized to make application on one or both of the areas in Symonds Way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Joe, are you up or who's up? Bob? All right.
Give me 1 second.
Hold on.
Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. I'm Robert Rio. I'm a member of the Reading Pickleball Players Association. I'm on the board, and there are a couple other board members here, Joe, Mary Ann, and Peter. And we're just here to update you on some of our plans. We do have a website, Reading Mass, or readingmapickleball.org. Okay, it's not on there, but it's there.
It's on the bottom.
Oh, she updated them, huh? Because it's not on mine. That's great. Next slide, please. You've seen some of this before, but I just want to update you. The Memorial Park courts, which is our primary location of playing, are over capacity during the morning and evening hours. And I do want to say that Playtime Scheduler, which is the group, or which is the website where you sign up to play after you've reserved the courts, and you sign up and it has waiting lists and things like that, has identified Memorial Park as the 6th busiest location in the country based on the number of sessions posted so far this year, which is 1,917 sessions. Just to give you a little bit of context, the number one, which I believe is in a sunny state, is 3,690, and even the second one is only 2,553. So you can see that the Memorial Park is known widely as a very, very busy court, and it's at capacity most of the time, and that's where I do most of the playing. And I think it's important to know that, there's a lot of friendships that have been developed through there. I didn't know a lot of the people I'm now playing with. In fact, I didn't know the people even on the board. And some of the people I've connected with and realized we worked at the same places a few years ago, and we know similar people. So it's a very social group, and it's certainly a lot of fun. And you've seen all the others. I mean, we're trying, like the dog park, I guess. We're trying to find enough distance from homes to mitigate noise. The recreation department and the RPPA, we haven't been able to identify any locations for courts other than Symonds Way due to the noise, and we've gone through a lot of them. And of course, Birch Meadow, there were 2 plans were removed in June with no plan to recite them, and they're also removing the 4 courts that are already there. So, by the way, that number from Playtime Schedule does not include the Birch Meadow courts, nor does it include any indoor play. It is purely those at Memorial Park. So you can see it's a very, very, very well-used, friendly group of people, and it's growing. Next slide, please. Oh, wow. Okay, mine's bigger. I can see everything here. Some of this you've seen before. The Players Association started in January, had a kickoff in March, and I just wanted to update that we did have a second Unity Day with the high school. We had a lot of people show up, a lot of young people show up. So there is an interest at the high school level to play pickleball and to really join into the groups. We're seeing a lot of young people. We also did the Reading Fall Street Fair, which unfortunately rained a little bit, but we did interest a lot of people in that. Constantly people came up and signed up and said, I didn't know you were here, or where can I play, how do I play, how do I get involved? And became more social than anything else. And again, that just shows you how the sport is growing. And I expect that the younger people are gonna bring their friends in, because the activity level and the sense of community that we saw at the 2 Unity Days that we had was unbelievable. The kids were just all over us. One thing too about Playtime Schedule, it's not just there was a couple times where people were actually here on business in the Reading area, because Playtime Schedule is a national website. So if you're traveling, let's say in California or something, you could actually look up the local place where you are, see if there's a Playtime Schedule available, and sign up and come by. And we met a lot of people who had come to the Reading area, Burlington, and that area for business, and showed up, and it was great to see people from all parts of the country and talk to them about how their pickleball association works. So it's all that kind of thing. One more, Fidel? Okay, here's our effort so far. We just did this from July of 2023, just for simplicity, and I think you know that, Memorial Park was first lined in 2016. The Reading Rec offers lessons on pickleball since 2014, and they're growing every year. I don't think they've put up the pickleball schedule for this fall yet, the weekly one that goes on at Birch Meadow, but I suspect that will be sold out, because I remember last year it was sold out every week. People get on Monday morning to sign up for Sunday night, so it's very, very, very busy. So these are just the efforts, and we did present to this committee in July of 2023, and we referred to the select board. And in September, we presented to the select board, who suggested a citizens petition for warrant articles. As the typical warrant process was nearing completion, and suggested we present to FinCom and the Recreation and CPDC as well. We filed our citizen petition, and we did present to FinCom. I mean, we'll meet with anybody, frankly, that wants to talk about pickleball. We're really trying very hard to be part of the community, as well as to find a solution to the issue. Fidel, please. Next slide. Okay, the Symonds Way, similar to the dog park, this is the only identified location that we came up with. Burbank Ice Authority has made a preliminary offer for the use of a portion of the parking area. The courts would need an athletic asphalt base with painted lines and a barrier. You've heard some of this before, fencing to parking areas to create a safe playing area for all of us. And there's minimal site work that we need to create a temporary solution. Does not disrupt long-term plans for the property. So, we've done a lot of research on this and found out that Symonds Way was really the best location. It's too bad it's not about 3 times the size. I guess that would solve a lot of problems. But Fidel, the next one, please. And that's basically the layout. We're talking about behind the ice rink. Next one, please. There would be 8 courts there. Which we think we could easily fill, given the amount of people that continually, there's such an unmet need for pickleball in Reading. And again, this is just go back one, Fidel. Yeah, right there. This is just an overview. You can see them behind the court there. Next one, please. And again, this is a little closer. It doesn't really take up a lot of room. That would give us 8 really nice courts. We have 4 now at Memorial Park, and so this would essentially allow us to really attract a lot more people. It's not uncommon to see 20, 25 people. Each court holds 4 people. There's usually 2 spares, so you continually play. So 8 courts, what would that be, about 40 people maybe? That'd be a really good group. Okay, next one. I'll just read this because it's easier. To meet the pressing demand for pickleball courts and to mitigate the planned loss of existing and proposed courts, we requested the select board pursue using part of the Burbank Ice Authority for pickleball courts in 2024 while the future plan for Symonds Way is developed. And if you just go to the next one, you'll see the warrant article itself. This is the warrant article we filed to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Reading Ice Arena Funds, account 4715, a sum or sums of money not to exceed $200,000 to pay to build 8 temporary outdoor pickleball courts on land adjacent to Symonds Way, subject to successful negotiations of lease with the Burbank Ice Arena Authority and obtaining any required permits or take any other actions with respect thereto. I always like that thereto at the end. It seems like it just makes it a little more official. And just one more. Next one, please. Okay, and this is really the heart of it is, if at the time of the November town meeting, which is when the warrant article will be discussed or voted, there is a viable conceptual developer's plan listing specifically the content of the development, which includes the lease land and is amiable to both the town and the ice authority, we will table our citizens' position for now and reapply at a later date as needed. Further, even if our citizens' petition is approved, we will not push for courts to be built if by the spring there is an agreement or strong potential agreement between the town, the ice authority, and a developer to build something that the courts would interfere with. So we're trying very, very hard to move this along, as well as to be sensitive to the needs of this committee here, and certainly the town of Reading. If you just go one more. These are just some, I don't know if you saw them, this might be new since we came here last time. We did a lot of work to identify contractors and call people and see, contact people that have done work for the town of Reading, as well as similar type operations. And you can see that there's approximately, the project total is approximately $117,220. You'd recognize some of the names that you see here, and we did spend a lot of time with them trying to go over and ask what these costs would be. And RPPA would fund the nets, temporary interior fencing, benches, and storage at $16,000. So that's some of that you heard, but some of it's a little bit updated since the last time we've been here. We really do look forward to work with you in the future, and we really hope that we can come to a resolution on this, because there's simply a lot of people that I lost 10 pounds myself. So, if you multiply that by other people playing, that's a lot of pounding.
So
Go ahead.
Are you done, Bob?
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. Good job.
I want to keep talking about my weight loss.
So the 200,000 is still the
Yes.
temporary solution.
The 200,000 is still accurate.
Up
Yes.
to.
No,
Up
but
to.
it's still
Oh,
the so-called temporary
Well,
solution.
it'd probably be a little bit more than that to get to permanent. Permanent would just be adding lights and more fencing, that's it.
But it could also be somewhere else, right? Or will it always?
It could be someplace else if there was someplace else.
No, I mean someplace else within that parcel down there.
Down the road, I think is what.
Oh, the
you're
court-
asking.
oh.
Down the road.
yeah.
The way I understood that the ice authority was gonna let you use that parking for a period of time, it wasn't.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, it is?
It was gonna be.
They would be okay with,
Okay,
them
I'm
going
sorry, I
for
misunderstood. Oh, good.
Because they have their replacement parking at St. Athanasius.
Good, I missed that part. Thank you.
Yeah, the courts would be identical for all intent and purpose, because they need to be safe, they need to be playable. Safe is obviously the most important thing, and they need to be playable.
I just did. Fencing.
I'll go to Zoom first. Andrew, Karen, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Carlo. Not necessarily a question. I think that we're hearing two great discussions and presentations tonight on some of the wonderful potential possibilities to happen at Symonds Way. And these are things that we seriously have to consider. As a pickleball player myself, I'm at Memorial Park a lot when it's possible to get a court. I run into people who are just waiting outside the fence, wondering how do they get involved. I've played recently on some really excellent courts and realize we are settling for really courts that are in not great condition. There are cracks, they're tennis courts, they're not dedicated courts. And I think that I would like to see this committee seriously consider this possibility and maybe even vote our approval for town meeting to consider, depending on how the discussion about the RFI goes. But I think it's so important to really
have the community get behind this, because this is, as I always say, it's an intergenerational activity, it's a multi-generational activity, it's a very healthy activity for the community. I happen to be driving, I work at schools, and I happen to see even today, a high school out at PE was playing pickleball outside. I mean, this is the beginning of a major movement across all age groups. And as a COA, Council on Aging representative, I really want to speak from the perspective of the 60+ community as well. And you know, that's the, let me just leave it at that until I come up with some additional points if they are not made by other members of the committee.
Thank you. Andrew, anything?
Yeah,
Questions?
just quick, no questions really. Thanks for that, Karen. It's good to hear. And I mean, I have to apologize. I have to run. I can't stick around this meeting, so I personally hope we don't vote, because I would like to hear the response we got. But I'm appreciative of all the work that you put into it. I do think it's promising, but I think we have to, personally, I'd like to wait to explore our options first. And I know you've included that in your text, so I appreciate that as well. I think spring might be a little preliminary. We're not that fast at moving in town from my experience, but I think that's a logistical item that could potentially be thought through. So yes, I like it. Personally, not ready to vote on it, but I like what I'm hearing.
Thanks, Andrew.
And I have to get going. So
Oh,
thank you,
no
guys.
worries, thanks.
I think pickleball is important to, I guess, and I think that location makes a lot of sense. It's really no place up there right now that could be done. My concern is, and I appreciate the language that you put in there about the RFI, because that truly is the only buildable spot as well. So there's that conflict of trying to do the best we can for the town. And, you know, I would personally like to see pickleball courts up there, whether they're interior or exterior. But I also want to make sure that the town has the best use of that land and the potential for not just pickleball courts, but a pool, another ice sheet. I mean, there's so many other possibilities that came up in that RFI. So I am not against it, honestly, but I do question spending $200,000 on a temporary court at this point in time. But again, as Andrew said, the town doesn't move very fast, so, you know, maybe it's 5 years or 10 years before we actually see anything from the RFI. But nonetheless, and if that's the case, then clearly we want to use that land if we can. So I'm not opposed to it, I want to know what the RFI has to say first, because I'd hate to dedicate that land to something that then limits the possibility for something else.
That's good, thank you.
Including the dog park.
Including the dog park.
Thank you. I've heard the presentation several times and I appreciate the work you've done. I represent the Recreation Committee, so I have some questions along those lines. You're talking about, I've heard the words used, pressing need and oversubscribed. And, you know, I hear that pickleball players want to play all the time. They want to be on the courts all the time. My question is, one of my questions is, what are the expectations that you have? Because the Recreation Committee has been dealing with and trying to come up with solutions for pickleballs for several years. And as the rec representative, it's kind of frustrating that this is a conversation about recreation and that, you know, Jenna and Jim are not involved with it because you've taken out a citizen's petition, which is your right to do. But my question is, what are your expectations? How many reservations do you make a week? How often are you guys playing? Because
I don't know, Karen?
If you come to the podium and just name and address, please.
Karen McGuire, Franklin Street. I have the statistic up about the number of bookings at Memorial Park, which is 4 courts, and it's 1,917. So I guess if you divide that by however many, you know, sunny, non-rainy days we have, we could probably come to a number.
so
And I
wait,
also-
what are you talking about? Playtime scheduler?
Yeah, that's the point.
So what happens, so let me explain what happens when we book. we book the courts through the town. And
Play
then,
local.
yeah, so that's how we get the reservation for the court. And then we want people to play with us. And so we don't wanna be on text threads with everybody and the other, multitudes of people that you guys have seen. So what we do is we use this application called Playtime Scheduler. There's 300,000 users on there.
So my question is, how many reservations do you make or does any one person make on Play Local?
You're only allowed to make 2 hours of court reservations per day. So any one person.
Two hours per day.
And book 2 hours per day per person.
And do most people do that?
2 hours is the right amount of time to play pickleball.
Okay,
An hour and a half is too short and 2+ is too long,
okay,
generally.
okay. And that's every day, because I've spoken to other people who play tennis and other things, and they say, we're expecting to be able to play, 2-3 times a week, something like that. And so, one of the issues that the rec department has had is with is with the expectation and how often people want to play and expect to play. And then the other one is that if every person wants to be playing 2 hours a day, well, that's an expectation that maybe the recreation department or the town cannot provide for everybody to be able to play 2 hours a day. And then the other thing is, I was on your website and I've heard about it, but I didn't really know. And you said, yes, 1,917, and you are the 6th busiest place. And from your perspective, I understand that's a great thing. You're meeting new people, it's very social. That's for US and Canada, and there are 1,917 bookings. And you're inviting people from all over. And so you said, if you're traveling and you happen to be staying in Burlington, you can go locally and find out they're looking for courts. There's a court in Reading, and you were the 6th, more people booked there. And so at any given time, half of the courts or more than half of the courts could be people who don't live in Reading. They're just dropping in.
Hold on, can I correct you for a second? Just on your phrasing, when you say book, the people from out of town aren't booking anything. They're signing up if there's availability. So no one's booking anything from out of town.
They're booking a spot to play pickleball. They are booking a spot to play pickleball. There is an opening, and
If there's an opening,
they're taking it.
They're putting their name on Playtime Scheduler, whether they're on a waiting list or not, correct. But they're not booking, quote unquote, booking a reservation to play pickleball. That already has been done.
They're not reserving the court.
They're not reserving the courts.
I understand that. No, I get that. But what is happening?
That's a small amount of people though.
What's the small?
That's out-of-state people, or it's a couple times during the summer maybe, or things like that,
It's not
No, I get that, but there are, you people in Reading put this up on this national site. To make us the 6th in the country. So that's a lot of reservations that you're opening up to a wider community. So when we at the recreation department and the recreation committee say, I can't play, there are no spots open, we're wondering, is that part of the problem? And the recreation department thinks that is part of the problem, that part of it is a self-inflicted wound. And I totally get, it's a very social sport. I don't play, I also don't have a dog, but it's a very social sport, and I understand that, and we do need courts. But, the push forward outside of the recreation department or even this committee. Because, you know, there is a pressing need when some of the, you know, some of that is sort of a self-inflicted wound, in my opinion.
I know I play in other towns sometime
Yeah,
myself.
I played
It's-
Friday night with my wife in Wakefield.
Yeah, I
And
play
when
Wakefield
go
a
away to
lot.
Florida, I play down there.
It's,
It's-
it averages out.
It averages out. And
No.
most of the people that are playing down there are from Reading, are Reading residents,
Okay,
at least when I'm
The
playing.
vast majority.
And certainly all of them are reserve courts.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay the $25 fee to reserve a court, so. And not to mention that, just so you know, we have 400 people in our pickleball, in the RPPA's email list of Reading residents who play pickleball.
right,
And so I would say to you, you asked what our expectation is. Our expectation is to have at least what they have for tennis here. Because I would argue that the pickleball courts are more used than the tennis courts now. And so I would say our expectation is to have what tennis has in this town. Because there are more pickleball players in this town than there are tennis players.
and in 2008, when the tennis courts were being built, the Friends of Reading Tennis was formed. And in 1 year, they raised $150,000 and went to the town with $150,000 and said, you know, here, we would like courts. And so that was part of the impetus to do that. And I also know that, I'm not sure where it was, but there are courts, you know, they're supposed to be redone every 8 years. And there are some tennis courts that have, I think it's been about 15 years. And they need to be done too. So there are priorities within this. And in case other people don't know when this went before, FinCom just voted on this, and it was they voted 3-6 to approve this. So there were 3 people in favor and 6 people against.
Right.
You know, the recreation department has said, and I've said too, that we've looked at places, Jenna and Jim have been looking at places with the RPPA, and they think that somewhere at Symonds Way would be a great place. And recreation was not going to go forward with any kind of recommendation because we've been waiting for this committee to make a decision. And there are other things in play with the SWAC land. And so, you know, it is that's part of the consideration of what's going to go there and what the money is. I mean, there's something that says, I read the warrant article today, it said something about a Burbank revolving fund. There's no Burbank revolving fund. And it's also been said that this money is supposed to be used for recreation. And it can be used for anything. The town can use it for anything. And if it is being used for recreation, I think that, you know, the recreation department and committee should have more say in what that is.
Is that, can
Can
you
I say
clarify,
something?
Oh, hold on.
can we get clarification on, oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead, Chuck. Hold on,
whether-
Karen.
Is the warrant article citing a funding source that I thought it said, Ice Arena Authority. Didn't say revolving.
No, at the bottom it does. At the beginning,
We had
it
it up,
has a
it was
line
up in the,
item.
it was up in the.
Said Reading Ice Arena Funds Account 4715.
no, in the other part. I read it today. I don't know.
Oh, you mean in the actual town meet that we got the link?
It's not the report, but where is it? In the background, yeah. It's in the background, it's not in the article.
So that isn't an accurate source of funding?
The article and the motions are correct.
The background information is incorrect.
No, just said it was correct.
No, he said the article is correct.
The article and the motions are correct.
The background information is incorrect.
So that is amended if it's incorrect.
I mean, the background is to the benefit of town meeting, right? It's not a legal requirement.
Okay.
What's legally required is the article and the motion. That's what
That's what I
town
was
meeting.
asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
the article and the motion is correct.
Karen?
Thank you, Carlo. Just a couple of points that I want
to make. One of the things that I think that we really need to understand is there are no dedicated pickleball courts in the entire community. There are no dedicated, safe pickleball courts. We have adapted, the pickleball courts that are available at Memorial Park have been adapted from tennis courts, and they are very confusing for people to use. And I think one of the things that Angela spoke about was the increased number of people from within Reading, because only Reading residents are allowed to book the courts up at Memorial Park. And they are being used a great deal by the 60+ community, many of whom are retired and have the availability of their time to keep active and to be out there in a social event. And I think that this is such an important point for the community to consider. Also, Angela mentioned how this has been a huge topic of conversation at Reading Rec committee meetings, and it speaks to the need. I've spoken about this to Jenna on multiple occasions, and she has had to deal with this for a number of years. And it would be wonderful for us to be able to finally address the issues that are in our community and meet the needs of especially the 60+ residents, as well as all residents in Reading. The other thing too is this is what has been alluded to and said even in this meeting tonight is Symonds Way is the best location. One of the concerns that moved it away from Birch Meadow was the reality that the neighbors, we didn't want to, the town does not want to interfere with neighborhood, the ability to live well in your neighborhood. And Symonds Way would not, the noise from the pickleball court, from the pickleball balls would not interrupt anyone's enjoyment of their residency. And I think that this is, there's just so many factors that point to the importance of considering Symonds Way as a location for these temporary pickleball courts. I strongly support this as a member of the Council on Aging and I will also speak as a member of the 60+ community who tries to stay active because I can through playing pickleball. We do have a pressing need, and I do hope that town meeting recognizes this pressing need. And if this is one of the considerations that's put forward to the select board, and we'll see how it goes at town meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Fidel, can you put the warrant, I'm just curious as to why the FinCom vote, is there a background report for them or just a vote?
Just a vote. There was a lot of discussion at FinCom, and they went back and forth on whether they should vote at all, because it's a citizens petition, and it was a long meeting.
Were you at the meeting?
I was at the
Can
meeting.
you give a flavor for what?
I'm trying to recall. It was probably an hour and a half discussion about pickleball again. So I think I think a lot of the concerns were probably what we're hearing here, that it's jumping the process, that it's I hate to put words in FinCom's mouth. I mean, and as you can see, I mean, it was 3, 4, 6, not supporting it. I mean, it was a very, very long conversation about it.
I think a lot of it was also because they're termed to be temporary, and we would love to have them be permanent, but because of Symonds Way and everything else, we're using the language of temporary so that Symonds Way can also
That's right, you're on the.
Can I was at the meeting, so so it was, I agree with Fidel, it was mostly about process and how things get on the capital plan, and there are other things on the capital plan, so if money is coming for funding, should it go to something else before, you know, and so it hasn't come through the recreation department as one of the items to be funded, so that was it. There was a feeling that it was jumping the process and jumping over other items that should be funded first.
Karen,
Yeah, we definitely acknowledge that we have only started approaching the town in the summer. Because we thought there was a plan for courts. I know it was a plan for courts, it wasn't a commitment to courts. So that is, so we're trying to hurry up because we currently have 4 courts bookable that we book on Playtime Scheduler. There's 4 courts at the high school that are not. Those will be torn up in whenever Birch Meadow Phase 2 starts. And so we'll have double the demand on the courts at Memorial Park. So we totally understand that we were going fast, moving at lightning speed, trying to get something. And we do recognize the rec committee will be dealing with potential additional conversations once those other 4 courts are gone, because there'll be extra, potentially double the demand. And the only other thing I want to say was, I believe it was Carl McFadden a few meetings ago came, one of the meetings when we met with one of the committees or the town, and I think he said the spirit of Nelson Burbank setting up the funds to go to the town. I think he was saying the spirit of that was to be used for recreation. So
That is correct.
that's just what I want to say. Thank you.
Can I just the courts, even if they had been built, another point that was raised at FinCom was, even if they had been built, they wouldn't be breaking ground until, was it 2025 when it would be breaking ground, or it would be built? Was it breaking ground in 2025, Birch Meadow Phase 2? So even if they were still in that plan, they were still a couple of years off. So that was the other thing, that they were, the rush.
hence the ask for the temporary courts, because now they're not on the Birch Meadow master plan.
Can I?
Yeah.
So, I guess more of a statement than a question. It's very concerning to me that the pickleball community is getting conflicting guidance from the community, from the town leaders. Now, the select board told them to do this citizens petition, and the FinCom saying they're out not following the process. That's not fair to them.
So I think I was at I watched the select board meeting, and it appeared to me, I think that they were asking for support from the select board, and the thought was, we're not going to do this, so if you want to do it, a citizen's petition is the way to do it, because they were not going to take it on. So that's a slightly different, if you wanna do this.
They were looking to the town leaders for advice, right?
Correct.
They were looking for the town leaders for advice, yes.
And there's nothing I can do about it now, but it's concerning to me that we have, we're not all on the same page.
Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, great point, Chuck. I think
That's so important, because the Pickleball Association has been trying to present it in front of a number of different committees and being told different things. And so what exactly is the process that they're supposed to be following? One of the things that I'm very discouraged to hear about, because I didn't realize that the FinCom had voted 3-6 against this, against their thoughts about supporting this motion. And as a member, again, of the 60+ community, I feel like we are being overlooked and ignored once again, because this is an activity that especially is vital and important for many of us in the 60+ community. And so I'm disappointed to hear that FinCom did not take into consideration the recreational needs of those of us who don't fit into other categories, the younger than 60, and some of the more physically demanding athletic activities. So I'm very discouraged and disappointed to hear about that FinCom vote.
Yeah.
Karen, if I can just sort of clarify that a little bit, not that I'm on FinCom or anything, but my take on this is it's not about not wanting pickleball courts. It's sort of my opinion as well. It's just that, does it make sense to build them in that location at this point in time? And until a full vet of what that property could be is done, it's premature to recommend that you take $200,000 and build temporary courts that might get torn up in 2 years. So, you know what I'm saying? I think they're probably taking a step back and saying, wait a minute, let's see what happens for that property. It's the best property, no doubt about it. It's a great sport, no doubt about it in my mind. It belongs in that location. It's where it goes in that location and how it gets put in that location. That's my hesitancy. I'd love to see it there, but I'm very intrigued by the RFI we got. And if that is a viable RFI or something that can be put together, they will have pickleball courts. So that's where I'm standing on it. I'm not dissuading. I think it's a great sport for over 60, honestly. So it's not a snub to you or to anyone over 60. I think it's just a wait and see what we can do with that property before we go forward and spend that kind of money. That's my opinion.
But what I'm hearing tonight with this
Presentation is the caveat, if that the town moves forward in a different direction than they are going to, then our PPA is going to withdraw if they feel as though it will interfere with the plans that are being that are a next topic of discussion, the RFI. So I did hear that. Did I hear incorrectly?
You are correct.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That's what has me very happy tonight, because otherwise I would be adamantly against it. But I'm not adamantly against it because I understand that they're gonna allow that further recommendation of what the RFI has to say. So that's, you know, I think it goes hand in hand. I don't think there's a snub going on here. I just think it's a little premature until we figure out exactly what we can do with that property. That's my opinion.
Maybe if you come to the podium, Marianne, thank you.
I'm Marianne Devlin, 44 State Lane. I completely get it, because that is a good piece of property and that there are probably multiple uses there. The public-private partnership is an interesting concept, but it is also, from my experience in the commercial real estate world, because I'm a commercial real estate lender for 35 years, it is a long process before a shovel hits the ground. And so that, I think, that's where we are relying on all of you for guidance on how to do this. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we started with REC, and REC said, go in front of SWEC. So we went in front of SWEC, and SWEC said, go in front of Select Board. So we went in front of Select Board. Select Board said, go in front of FinCom. So we went in front of FinCom. And in between, members of the Select Board did take us aside and say, you know, you should probably consider a citizen's petition. It's your best bet. That's what we were told. So we want this pickleball more than anything in this town. And so we followed, you know, what we thought was the right path, because we're relying on the town leaders to tell us how to get this done. So here we are. Then we were told by FinCom, oh, your plan changed, or this is gonna change, so you better go back in front of SWEC. And here we are today, back in front of SWEC to tell you a little bit of how it changed. And that change is that we would withdraw our petition if something viable came about. My concern personally, and by the way, I play pickleball 5 to 7 times a week. That's how much I play it. It's an addiction. I can't explain it unless you play it. But I think, I mean, at this point, where we are in the process with trying to figure out the best use for Symonds Way is very preliminary. Even the RFI, which I perused, I'll admit I didn't read it, but I know enough about these things that unless it has every element the developer wants in there that drives revenue, they're gonna go bye-bye, okay? And they're gonna look for the town to contribute some or get some kind of, tax exempt bond, or, this is a long, long process. Can the pickleball community wait 5 years, 10 years? I don't think so. Not here in Reading, because there's too many of us. There's a lot of us here. It just doesn't show it tonight, but there really are. And so, we don't want to wait 5 to 10 years if we don't have to. That's why we want this temporary setup, because $200,000 over 5 years from now, when you might put a shovel in the ground, or might not, it might not work out. I mean, that's where we are. We're between a rock and a hard place, unless we can identify some other location in town that will have us. And I mean have us by pickleball noise, right? I mean, that's the only real problem I think neighborhoods have with us being in their parks. So, I just think if we had a location, we could also do fundraising. It's hard to do fundraising when you have no place to go. When the tennis community, which I contributed to because I'm a friend of Kate Camden's, but I contributed to the renovation of the Birch.
Bancroft.
Bancroft tennis courts. When they did that, they had a location. They already had courts there. So it was easy to fundraise. I opened my wallet freely. And also, Mr. Burbank was very generous too. We don't have that situation. We need the dirt first. We need the dirt, and then we can do everything. We can raise more funds if we need to raise funds, but right now what we're trying to do is accommodate the pickleball community that is there's an overwhelming demand from people mainly in the Reading community, but sometimes they're not from Reading. And I can't imagine that our tennis courts are all used from only people exclusively from Reading. I don't think that's the case either. So I'm just saying, I implore you to really give this some consideration, because I really think that, and I could be wrong, miracles do happen, but this is 5 to 10 years out before we do anything at Symonds Way.
Thank you, Marianne.
Could we go over to the RFI and look at that?
Well, I want to say a few words as the chair and an avid pickleball player, and I think things would be a little different if I wasn't, unfortunately, for you guys. These 5 people that are sitting here now, I did not know a year ago. And multiply that times 10, all right? That I didn't know if I walked by them on the street. That's what pickleball has done for me personally. And I'm just as addicted to Marianne, if not more, since I became a coach. I have my own coach in Woburn. But this is a problem in every town that's around us if they don't have dedicated pickleball courts. I played this morning in Woburn at a neighborhood park right across from some houses. I don't know when it was approved. There was basketball courts there, and they lined them with pickleball. I was invited to go play. I was glad I went. And I wouldn't be happy if I was living across the street from those 2 courts, right in the smack middle of the neighborhood. So that's what's been going on in other towns, and I don't know if they got approval or just did it. Doesn't really concern me. That was in Woburn. In Burlington, they are moving the courts away from homes to another part of the park in Burlington to accommodate complaints from neighbors, and you can't play before 9 a.m. And in the summer, a lot of pickleball players would like to start playing at 7 a.m. if they could, just because it gets too hot. So, to me, this is obviously a temporary fix, because we know how town government moves, and a private-public partnership will probably move just as long. So, with the support of the Ice Arena Authority, who was gracious enough to let them use part of that land, I think is a reasonable request from the RPPA. And 8 courts will do a lot for the town. I was recently in Rhode Island playing with my daughter, and there was 6 courts on 2 tennis courts, which we could easily do at Memorial Park. But that would create a parking problem and even more noise for that area, and we know as long as Bill Brown is alive, that would never happen. Right, so that's not even a possibility. We could add 2 more courts to an existing area that we're already playing at, but we know that's never gonna happen. So that's off the table. Sturgis is off the table. Washington Park is off the table. So everything is off the table, and here we are. So through all their efforts, they're asking for, with the cooperation and approval by amending the lease for the ice arena, to add quote-unquote temporary, possibly permanent courts. Yes, in a few minutes, we're gonna discuss the RFI that indicates they will gladly accommodate pickleball courts on that property and possibly a dog park. So again, until we go through the RFI, until we get the brass tacks on what can actually go there, is the land clean or dirty? There's so many factors involved. They're asking for a temporary solution that is years away from a permanent solution. So I just wanted to say that. I know me playing a lot of pickleball has hurt their efforts, unfortunately, because it becomes personal and there's politics involved, but that's the way it goes, unfortunately. And now more people are engaged, which is great for the town. So I'm ready to move on to the RFI unless anyone has any questions. But the RFI is next item on our agenda. Well, actually, next item on our agenda is discuss and vote, but I'm not gonna disrespect Andrew, who and Heather and who else is not here, to not, I don't recommend taking a vote because that's not fair. So I think we can move on from that, because I don't think we're ready to vote to move this forward. Town meeting is in a month, unfortunately, but you guys know you have my full support, but I don't think it's the right time, unfortunately, because we have a few members missing, and
Do we have a meeting before town meeting?
we can, town meeting is a month away, we can, of course we can. We can, hopefully Heather can make it
What's the date of town meeting?
The 13th, right?
before Thanksgiving. About a month
The
away.
13th.
About a month away. So yes, we can schedule a meeting and have a vote. So that's what I would propose on item number 3 on the agenda. Thank you for the presentation. I love the addition at the
Can I
end.
say one more thing?
You guys, sure, Joe, go ahead.
Joe McHugh. I just want to say, first of all, the group, pickleball group that are playing now isn't all that this is about. This is about high school kids. This is about a group of young people that came down a few days ago and couldn't play, Reading residents, because there wasn't a court available. And I lent them my net and sent them down the street. But this isn't just about now. This is about the future of pickleball. And I think if you're not into the sport, it's hard to see where this sport is going. And I also want to say, the RFI, what Mary Ann said about them needing, the developer's going to need certain things for it to be financially feasible, I think. And I think it would be smart to find out if those things are in conflict, maybe with what the ICE authority might allow there. Because that would be a simple thing to do, I would think, have that meeting or conversation and get that figured out. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can start. So I'm sure everyone, hopefully on the board at least, has had a chance to read the RFI. I did. And I can't remember if I said it here or at the select board meeting that I walked the property with the respondent, with Fidel, Chuck, the respondent, and Carl McFadden representing the Ice Arena Authority. I think about a month ago now, right, Fidel? Approximately about a month ago. So, and it was clear then, as it was just as clear in writing, that the project most likely, I'm paraphrasing, is not viable without the Burbank Ice Arena land behind the rink. That's what I surmised from reading that. So when at the meeting on property, when it was mentioned another sheet of ice, it was kind of not well received right away, and then after further discussion, I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth, but it was clear to me that there would be no conflict if there was another sheet of ice.
There would be a conflict?
Would not be a conflict.
There would not be a
Not be a conflict at that meeting. And that's why I gather, because you can monetize a sheet of ice very well as opposed to other aspects of that property. So that's why that was in the RFI, as many other things were mentioned. So I will open it up to the board, if there's, whatever else you guys interpreted from that marketing piece slash.
Yeah, that, I'm glad you said that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I read it more as a marketing piece than actually with.
It was, they mentioned, Reading was mentioned in there somewhere, but Nancy, go ahead.
So we weren't asking for proposals, so they're not gonna put any effort into doing
Correct.
something that tells us exactly what they're gonna do.
It's the beginning of the process.
But what is interesting is that they responded.
Yes.
So they understand that there could be, this is not a guarantee whenever you're asking somebody for something, but there could be a possibility of using that property. So for the town of Reading's sake, and that's not for us to decide, but I would say for the town of Reading's sake, it may be worth pursuing so that the town knows whether there's any kind of benefit. And as you said, there's always tax issues, there's always, think about the Burbank Ice Authority, how much does the town really get from that? Not much, but it is a service to the town. So I would say that what I'm excited about is that we got one. More than anything, it is exactly where I figured it was going to be. That is only part of the property that's actually developable. And if it can be done in partnership with Burbank, it could be a phenomenal recreation center. So clearly a lot more has to be done. Clearly, they have to come back, if them or anybody else, with more information. But it does show that this is a viable piece of property. It's in a great location. It already has a light at the intersection, has parking, could have even more parking with the other section of property that really isn't developable. So I'm enthusiastic about it only from that perspective. I agree, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be never. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to do anything that would prohibit them or anybody else from being able to use that piece of property. So that's where I'm coming from. I think it's a great first information. It is a marketing piece, but hey.
Thank you. Good
Is the
job.
window closed at this point for?
For the response to the official response, I think it was October 12th, Indy.
So
But it's
that's-
somebody.
Yeah, no, so that's it, though, we're not gonna get.
For now, right, and unless we issued another one, but I think,
I don't think we need to. I think they.
no, I
they've
think,
said,
yeah.
hey, we could possibly do something.
Yeah, the
But
keyword,
that's
the
it.
keyword is possible,
Possible.
correct, possible.
Possibly do something.
Correct.
I think that's what we were looking for, right? I
Right.
mean, because we
Yeah.
wanted to make it not completely specific, but to just put feelers out. So I was excited to see too that, the possibility, and it does leave open a lot of options. I know that ice is a big moneymaker. I don't think pools are. I don't think pools are big
No, but the
moneymakers.
Burbank YMCA is asking for a second pool.
It was,
Yeah.
it was indicated at that meeting that pools can be profitable,
Okay,
very profitable.
but ice is very profitable, and
Depends how you run it, but correct,
Yeah,
correct,
yeah,
correct.
and so, there is possibility for development there. There are also, there are town needs too, and I don't think that it really talked about outdoor pickleball courts. So did it?
Yeah, it said it could be outdoor, indoor, or both.
Okay.
But they're just telling us that because
Yeah.
that's what we asked for.
Right.
So whether that's feasible or not, I have no idea.
Because the town needs and wants pickleball courts, but it would be, indoor pickleball courts could be, are different from outdoor pickleball courts, and the town is looking for another multi-use field. So-
Listen, correct, the only way, as my friends over there indicated, the only way they're gonna do this is if it's profitable.
Right,
That's the
right.
only way,
Only way.
Yeah.
okay? So if you're gonna put indoor pickleball courts, which are great, I would love to play year round and not leave this town, right? Or even in neighboring towns, but that's another conversation. If they were to put 2 or 3 indoor pickleball courts in this building, and you can monetize that pretty well, trust me, what do you think they would do? How much time would they give Reading? We'd have to say, okay, we want, once a week, twice, whatever the negotiation is. But again, they can monetize anything related to pickleball if they wanted to. And that, they're looking at per square foot. How much are they gonna make per square foot of ice, per square foot of turf field, per square foot of whatever, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? How much are they're gonna do the projections, how much can we make, how much are we giving to the town, and is it worth it? End of story. There's no other way to do it. So I'm glad they responded in writing. I think we should pursue it myself. I think there's a lot of possibilities there. And this is nothing against Nancy, but I disagree that the land that we bought is developable. I can't even say that word. You can put a building there. It's clear you can put a building there. But anyway.
Would you make money off?
Well, again, that's not to me. That's not to me. I'm not a private, I'm not gonna do it.
But the town could put something there.
Town could personally put something
Yeah.
there, it would be a small piece of it. But again, it could be the outdoor pickleball courts, or it could be but again, you don't know what's under that soil.
Underneath the soil.
So there's a lot of, right.
Karen, you're good. Karen.
Thanks, Carla.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that we did get a response to the RFI. My concern is, yes, there are the possibilities and the potential, but it raises more questions for me than answers. And one of my concerns is it's just going to delay our decision. It's just continuing to kick the can down the road. I have a couple of questions. I would love to hear from the potential developers to do a presentation. And as everyone is talking about, they need to be able to make money. It needs to be profitable to them. What is in it? What is the benefit to us as a community? How do we win in this situation by giving over this one area of potentially developable?
Freezing up.
And I'm stumbling over that word as well. And what? I'm freezing up. Did you lose me?
You're good now. It's a delay.
Your internet connection is unstable. I'm seeing that. Oh dear. Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
So and the other questions I have are what this needs a negotiation with Burbank Ice Arena, and also what happens when they have to dig. We don't know what is in that land. We don't know if it's contaminated or if there's any toxic materials there. And so again, that opens up a can of worms as well. So again, there are so many questions that need to be pursued before we can even have a very serious discussion about this. But I would like to hear from the developers from Edge itself and help us better understand, because one of the things I heard from Maureen Devlin was talking with her expertise in this area, that so many things need to fall into place initially, and we know that there will not be bank financing if there's any obstacle in the way at all. So all of those obstacles need to be removed before anything happens. I'm just worried about how this is going to delay the process.
Thank you. Chuck?
Well, that was gonna be so what are the next
Steps, do we have to ask you to invite the developer in, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I would do next.
And I guess
Presentation.
my other question, can I say?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanna go back to that FinCom meeting, because I think it ties into this, because this is part of was it really just process, or were they talking about spending $200,000? I don't know if you wanna chime in, or.
I think there's been issues.
Peter, can you come to the podium, please?
Sorry, Peter, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Mark Sarah was
Peter
there.
Leinecker.
Is Mark Sarah on the line too?
Is it?
I see Linda Sarah, but I don't know if that's Mark.
Maybe it's Mark.
I'm on. It's twice confusing.
We'll go, Mark, you're up next.
Okay, so anyway, they were discussing the whole proposal and they were yielding to SWEC's decision as well. But there were objections to the nature of a $200,000 temporary court. You know, was that the sole issue? Probably not, but they didn't like the idea of wasting $200,000 for something that could be torn up in 2 years. If you really think this is gonna happen in 2 years, then, you know, maybe that is an issue. Also, I don't really know the amount that we're talking about in this project, but I've heard $25 million for the development.
I haven't seen any numbers. I haven't seen
I
any
don't know.
numbers.
So even call it 10 million, if it's $10 million.
So were there any discussions around like community priorities or,
I
you
don't
know,
recall any like that.
you know,
I think a lot of people said we need pickleball courts, but they just weren't ready to commit at this time, so. So anyway, if it's a $10 million project, $200,000 is not a big deal to that size project anyway.
and if it's not really a sunk cost if the whatever comes out of the RFI converts into having those courts there.
The drawing that
If-
they have,
if.
the rink goes
Yes.
over.
Yeah, it's a real if,
No,
but
that wouldn't happen. That's the developable land.
That's where the site is.
That's the
right where
site.
because that's the flat,
oh
Yeah,
right, that's
Boston,
right. They're
that's
gonna
where
go
they
out
would
of, they're
put it,
gonna
right. Yeah,
go
there's a-
some-
and they wanna
My
connect to
mis- yeah.
Burbank, it looks like, so.
I mean, if there's another spot in the SWEC place that you could put the courts, I mean, the article says adjacent to, we would be willing to accept other land that's in that area and consider that adjacent to, so.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, yeah, so.
Go ahead, Mark, please.
All right, I think Nancy was right in what she described happened at FinCom really was approving money to be spent now where there was an RFI and not knowing, you know, what would come in. And, you know, it's not gonna happen probably till the spring anyways, so why approve funding now when, you know, there's time to do it in the spring was sort of, you know, if all of these are gonna be heard. There was nothing presented in FinCom about, you know, if the RFI comes in and it's acceptable, then tabling, you know, the citizens petition. So that's really what happened at FinCom. It was really like, can't this wait was more, it wasn't so much people were against pickleball, it was really timing of it, was really the issue.
Mark, thank you. So to Chuck's question, going back to Angela's concern, it wasn't about process
No, it
at
was about
FinCom.
process. It was about process.
Angela's saying it was about process and you're saying,
Well, Fidel also said it was about process.
I
There
think it
were
was a lot.
several things brought up. My recollection is it was more of not approving funding now if it could wait, and were we getting ahead of ourselves? More
Flush out
than-
the RFI, to flush out the RFI.
But Mark, you made an interesting point, that where the wording that's in the, I guess is it a motion or something for town,
The article?
that's not how it was presented at the FinCom? That kind of
No,
must
it
have.
was not presented at FinCom.
Must have evolved later, or, yeah, okay.
The language about deferring.
You're right,
that last slide,
That was-
yeah, that was.
We added that after the article was drafted.
Got you. That's interesting.
Well, it wasn't presented, but it was about process, and the chair, Ed Ross, also mentioned that they were asking for all of the money, that there was no money coming forward like other sports organizations do sometime.
That's not true.
Oh, they had 10% in that figure. I thought it was like $16,000.
64 just for the equipment, not for the court itself.
It's part of the court. The equipment is part of the court, the nets are part of the court, the fencing is part of the court.
I'm conveying what the chair said, and that was something that was brought up by the chair. It would be worth watching the meeting.
Yeah, sounds like.
Nancy?
Could I wanna go back to the RFI just for a minute.
Yeah.
And our committee. So as I understand this committee, our job is to make recommendations to the select board on what we think they should consider. I'm not sure having a presentation, or tell me how having a presentation from the RFI person is going to make a difference in how we do this. I don't know, maybe it does, because they'll go through it.
It doesn't to me.
Because I would rather have the select board hear that presentation at the same time.
I was
guess is
just
what I'm
out of
saying.
interest, that's all.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't hesitate having them. I'd love to hear what their thoughts are on that property. I just wanna make sure that we use our time well. So if we're saying this is something that the select board should pursue, should it be the select board that hears the presentation? Maybe in concert with us, I don't know, but I'm just trying to figure out what our job is. Our job at this point is to say to the select board, we love pickleball courts. We think this RFI is really interesting, and we like the idea of the dog park. Are we supposed to say this is what you're supposed to do in one of those items? We can tell them in a general way what we think is best for this site, and the select board should be the ones, or are the ones that are gonna make the final decisions.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
Unless we wanna vet the contractor before we recommend them to the select board and they end up embarrassing.
yeah, and that's fine, if that's what we feel is important to do, I'm okay with that, but I'm not.
I think that of the things that they present, they really require a much larger conversation with other town bodies and the whole community, you know? I mean, we had the survey, but if we're talking about a decision to ask for a sheet of ice, or ask for another pool, or ask for a building, like a field house that contains pickleball courts or something else. I mean, if we're asking about that, to build something like that there, then that is a larger community, and I think that that's where the conversation with the select board, and they say, what are our priorities, what are our town-wide priorities right now? We have Killam, we have senior center to figure out. Do we wanna undertake something like this? Do we wanna go with a dog park and pickleball courts and put that aside for now? I mean, that's sort of where I am, and that there are some decisions that might require an answer sooner rather than later. So for us to pursue the possibility without there being a larger townwide conversation, I don't think is the right way to go. I mean, I think that we are at a point where, I don't know, are we supposed to be making recommendations by December?
Right.
Yeah, we're supposed to be making recommendations by December, and it's mid-October. And, we have some.
We have some things that we can recommend.
We do have some things that we can recommend, pursue a building, invite these people in, shelve that, put pickleball courts there, put a dog park there. I mean, I think that we do have some
viable
options.
That's Chuck's point though, you're right, because it's gonna be a give and a take, right? If this RFI goes anywhere in the coming months, right, it's gonna be, they want this, okay, we want this.
Right.
How close can we get
It's
where we're both happy, right? That's the only way this is gonna happen. So whether it's be, we want this, okay, we want 8 pickleball courts in a dog park that you build. They say no. Okay, we want a pickleball court and you build it. They say no. Okay, we want a dog park and you build it, and we'll pay for half of the pickleball courts. They say no. So it's gonna be, whatever the case is, I'm picking those 2 examples, because that was what was presented tonight. So it's gonna take, I don't wanna say years to vet the RFI,
Right.
but, because there's the soil issue, the
Right.
possibility of contamination was indicated by Weston and Sampson. And I'm guessing the Burbank is gonna be clean, I don't know. You know, the government had that land, don't forget. Control of that land. So who knows what they buried or didn't bury? I have no idea, right? So again, it's gonna be a process, and that's why these guys came here tonight and have been going around doing these presentations to multiple committees. That's the only reason, right? Because they know, and I think we know, this is gonna take years, right? So I think we need to invite them. And, you know, town meeting is a big time suck for all of us who are on town meeting. You know, things kind of stop for a couple weeks for town government to accommodate town meeting. And, you know, my board doesn't meet, a lot of boards don't meet, so we get town meeting over with, hopefully in a week or so, and then we go back to our regular meetings. So whether we can squeeze them in before town meeting or not, that's up for discussion. But I think, you know, I want to pursue the RFI, obviously, and that was part of our charge. Obviously, to ask the town for millions of dollars, where to be put ahead of Birch Meadow, to be put ahead of Killam, put ahead of a senior center, it to me doesn't make any sense, right? And I don't want to say just get in line, but we have Birch Meadow that's been going on for over a decade, and so many other things. I mean, last night at CPDC, McDonald's was discussed as a potential bigger project than just building a new McDonald's. And that's not really part of this, but there's so many things going on, right? So again, where does this fall on the list? To Karen's point, 60 plus, 20 plus, you know, pick an age, doesn't matter. My college kid is playing at college. High school kids are playing. Unity Day was packed again, 2 years in a row with pickleball. So there's no age to it, right? It's meant for, let's say, older people, which I guess I am now, but it's all ages, right? And it's, you can be good at 70 and you can be good at 15. It really doesn't matter the age. So I think, you know, I don't wanna, it's 9 o'clock, but I think we need to pursue the RFI, invite Edge for a presentation, and that should be either our next agenda, our next meeting, or the one thereafter. But well, I was like Karen go, Joe. Karen?
I really like Nancy's point about,
is it really, are we really the ones who need to see the a presentation from the developing company? I think at this point, we have enough information. We did send out the RFI. We got one response. I think at this point, we are charged with making recommendations by December. And I think we have enough information to make some recommendations to the select board and let them decide how much further they want to go with the Edge Development Company. Because there's so many decisions that need to be made about it, and I think that they really are in the position to hear the presentation, move forward, decide what their next steps are. So I really like Nancy's point. I hadn't considered it. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, no, I agree with Karen and Nancy that you know, we've done what we can do, and it's up to the select board to sort of pursue it if they want to pursue it and get a broader conversation than the, how many are we? 7 of us.
Is the select board also considering, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
realize,
go ahead.
a senior center for up there? Is that gonna slow things down even more?
It hasn't been officially proposed yet because we're just, did we hire somebody yet, or the
I ran
RFQ?
into,
So there's an RFQ out there for the, for a feasibility study to hire somebody for the senior center. So until those results come back, and I guarantee you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that'll be a site, potential site for a senior community center, which I don't disagree with. You don't have to pay someone $50,000 to do that. You can just call me up and say, yeah, that's a good location for that, potential good location. So anyway, so we know that's gonna happen, so that's months away from getting that data back, but, so I guess what I'm hearing is that the 5 of us that are here tonight will be potentially okay to vote on the select board working with the respondent to see where that goes.
I think we need to wait for Andrew as a courtesy, because he asked.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's all I'm
that's
saying,
what I'm
I'm
saying,
right.
I don't think we need to have them come in, that's my personal opinion, but I think it would be a waste of their time, because it doesn't matter what they tell us. Honestly, they need to work with the Board of Selectmen, just as you said, it's a negotiations, and the Board of Selectmen need to know what they're proposing, if they're interested,
Well,
and what they
and
need
I
to
don't
become
disagree with
interested.
you, and I'm happy to go, but I've spent, I don't know how many months here. I'd like to see what gets.
We finally got an
I'll
out
just
of
sit in the
5, we finally
audience
got one.
Got a great
And
idea.
listen to it. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I don't care whether it's the select board or to us or whatever. I'd like this.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it would be helpful
Yeah.
that we said we saw it.
So could we have a joint select board SWEC committee meeting?
Yeah, that might be the way to do it after town meeting.
Yeah, we could. It's not like that hasn't been done before.
Right, no, because I think
no.
they're the ones that need to hear this.
Yeah, and I think that recreation too needs to be a part of this.
Yes,
Because
that's
if it
true.
is, it's the recreation department that,
I think that's a great point.
Yeah. so if it is, then Jim and Jenna need to be included in that too.
That's a great idea.
All right, I wanna wrap this up and move on, but I know, Joe had his hand up.
Just want to make a quick point.
Sure. If you can get to the podium again so everybody can hear you on Zoom, thank you.
So just keep in mind when they're talking about indoor pickleball and everybody's getting excited about that. I looked at some of their other developments locally, and Thayer, I think it's what I saw, had pickleball, was talking about having pickleball. So I went on their website, the pickleball is it's not even happening right now at all. It starts in November, I believe. And it's available until 1 o'clock in the afternoon on weekdays only, not weekends, not afternoons, not evenings. Because the moneymakers, I would say, basketball, et cetera, they're triple line courts from what I could see, and it was very confusing, the other lines. And so don't get too excited when they say indoor pickleball, because it's not much and it's not great.
Yeah, it's not gonna be dedicated, right?
No, it's not dedicated, and it's not available except in the fall and winter until 1 o'clock in the afternoon on weekdays. That's what they're doing down in Thayer, from what I could see from the website. So that's not, anyone who works can't do that.
No, thank you. Yeah, I know how indoor pickleball works, so, thank you.
Carla, can I just say one thing?
Go right ahead,
And I'll be
please.
very quick, I know everybody wants to go home, I do too. On the RFI, which, concept is very exciting, I actually saw it, and this gentleman has facilities according to the RFI, other places, which might be worth going to look at. To me, I'm not sure what the SWEC committee's charge is in terms of making a recommendation to select board. I don't know if you have to dig a little deeper, like, is the project financially feasible? Do you have to tell them that, or is that select board? I guess this is more a question than anything else. Is that select board's charge to find out whether it's financially feasible from the developer's perspective?
The negotiating entity would be the town and the select board with the respondent, not us.
Okay, so the conceptual, you're making a recommendation conceptually to the select board.
A what if, this could happen.
Possibility.
Yeah, this could
Because,
happen.
because anything that we're asking for goes into is a larger conversation with the community, that the community wants ice or indoor field, or that is the larger conversation.
I just want to understand that. I guess if that's the case, then I was just gonna say things that the developer needs to do to bring to you, but one of the things I wanna be very cognizant is, we don't want to have to pay for pickleball. We want it to be a town, a public park. And so this idea that this developer's gonna come in and put in a facility that we have to pay to use just rubs me the wrong way, especially if it's on town land. So even if it's a discounted fee, I just don't think we should, as a community, as a resident speaking now, not a pickleball player, have to pay to use this facility that's on our land. And I get the public-private partnership, he has to make money, but off our backs?
Well, that's where the give and take would be. That's where the give and take would be, where we'll let you build this, and we want you to build this, and it's ours. You're building it, and
Well, it's like the ice arena now. I understand. It's like the YMCA as well, for example, right? The ice arena allows our high school team to use it.
They pay for it. They pay for it. They pay for
That's
it.
what I'm saying to you.
But I think also though, I think at Wellesley, the developer did put in a multi-use field for the town that was just theirs to use.
With pro qual.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
that happens too. So we get better,
Exactly,
again, as a
so-
resident, I would like to see us get a lot out of this deal.
Correct,
If
correct.
he's gonna be running
Correct.
ice, a pool, a field house, pickleball, and
It's a process.
So
It's a
it
process.
could be
It's a process.
that you make a lot of money on the ice and you give the town pickleball courts that are only for the town use.
Right.
Quick.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. There was more questions than.
No, thank you. Okay, I think we are, I guess, set our next meeting, which is November. I guess it's mid-September, mid-October. And I don't know if you guys wanna meet before town meeting or meet after town meeting.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah,
Should we make, especially with this petition that has been put towards the warrant, it would behoove us to actually be able to make a recommendation on whether the 200,000, I don't know, I mean.
so I think, thank you. No, that, I alluded to that, earlier. That's why we should meet before town meeting.
Correct, so I'm wondering if we should.
So are we, we're not a recommending,
No, we're not
Body.
recommending.
Supporting.
Supporting or not, or I guess a report to say what our considerations are. I don't know, maybe not, maybe not.
maybe you're right, I would not be in favor of that.
I think it'd be good to get on the record, it's just my opinion.
Good to,
Get our opinions on the record, just like other committees have done.
well, what other committees have done it?
Finance committee. Finance
Well,
committee.
that's their job. Their only job is to, that is their job, to make to advise town meeting. Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, has the select board taken votes yet?
We just voted on the articles, that's all.
Did you take a vote on this one?
Yeah, of course we did. It's on the warrant.
No, I mean, did you, recommendations?
No, we recommended it to be on the warrant, that's all we can do. We don't vet every article, we vote to put it on the warrant.
You do vet some articles, and that's what I'm asking.
This time we didn't.
Okay.
It was a citizen's petition, so
Hello?
we couldn't do anything about it.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead, Karen.
I do remember
When RPPA made their presentation before the select board, Karen Herrick, one of the select board members, did mention, did you get a recommendation? Because often, she recommended oftentimes that there are recommendations from committees that are involved, and she did specifically cite, did you get a recommendation, or it may be helpful to get a recommendation from the SWEC committee? So that was said at the select board meeting when RPPA did present. Do you remember that, Carlo, or do you remember that?
To get support, get support from other commissions and committees, correct.
Yeah,
I
it
think-
specifically mentioned SWAC.
Gotcha.
I
So I
understand.
do think it would be helpful to hear, from SWAC at town meeting.
I understand what Angela's saying. I think though that since we've heard multiple presentations, I think we owe it to town meeting to say how we feel about it. As a
Yeah, if anybody wants to vote or abstain, they're welcome to do so. I mean, vote no or abstain, they can do that.
I think that's probably what the spirit of what Karen was saying, right? I didn't hear her say it, but
No, she asked them, Karen is correct, she asked RPPA to go.
Karen Herrick.
Sorry, Karen is right, this Karen is right, that Karen Herrick at that meeting said to the RPPA members because it was about process, go out and get recreation support, go out and get Symonds Way support, go and get FinCom support, go present to everybody that has skin in the game. And that's where I'm going with that. So I think we should try the 13th, we start town meeting?
Yes.
All right, so select board meets on the 7th, if I'm correct. So the week before that is the last week in October, first week in November, or we can meet the week of the 6th.
We have a charter review on the 30th, right?
The 30th, okay.
Is that a master calendar?
Yeah.
I'm,
Rec meets on Mondays, correct?
I know, okay.
We're not meeting that Monday. We're meeting next Monday,
I
right?
can't do it that Tuesday. What is the Tuesday?
The 7th, I can't either.
Yeah.
I can't either.
Okay.
So we can do it the 31st potentially,
That's Halloween.
okay.
Are you going trick or treating?
I'll bring candy. I make chocolate for a living, so.
Is November 8th available?
November 8th, it is for me,
What day is that?
Wednesday.
Can I say November 8th?
It's a Wednesday. You want to say the full month?
Granted, Andrew and Heather aren't here, and,
The 8th is when we're planning to do the town manager search forum,
okay, so that's not good.
which would be,
Yeah.
Could we have a short meeting, like, could we say 6 o'clock?
No, me with the select board?
with the
Town meeting.
community.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, did you hear what Karen, so
No,
we could have could we
it'd
have
be a
a
one agenda,
shorter
we could do a
meeting
Zoom, we can even do it on Zoom.
and start earlier,
Oh,
like
right.
6 versus 7, or I don't know.
Yeah, to help Fidel out too, right, yeah. What about the 6th? Is rec meeting on the 6th? No, they don't meet that early in
No,
No, I
we're
think-
meeting on the 23rd, right,
Of,
November.
of October.
Oh,
Are we
November.
meeting,
are we meeting on October
I
23rd?
think we're meeting next week, is it?
Yeah, October 23rd is next week.
That's Monday.
That's,
Pretty sure.
I don't, there was something that went out about, is this possible? And,
Right.
but I never
I
got,
saw Jenna tonight and because we were supposed to meet
I know.
tonight, right?
Yeah, but I don't think we're meeting the 23rd.
Or last night, we were supposed to meet last night.
I don't
and-
think we're meeting the 23rd. I haven't heard.
I have it on my calendar as the 23rd, but
That's for
I'm
rec.
not sure.
That's
Yeah,
what?
That's a recreation meeting.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Peter's on recreation.
Yeah.
So-
I'm on recreation
I.
too,
I
and
don't know that it's been confirmed
it
either.
hasn't been
That
confirmed.
was the latest.
All right,
No, it was, something
I
went
have it
out,
on-
can you meet this day, but nothing went out about, we're meeting
I
on
got
that
an
day.
email from Jenna, just to me, because I asked her, and she told me to hold the 23rd, so I guess you're right.
I don't think,
Well, let's try to make this easier. I don't know when CONSCOM meets, but what about the 2nd or the 9th? That's a Thursday.
Could we do
Might be a school committee.
before select board at 6 o'clock on Zoom?
Well, that's a good idea.
on when?
24th or the
Thursday,
7th?
second
On the 7th?
Of,
On the 7th at 6,
at 6.
before select board.
I mean, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that.
okay, I'm working for someone that day. What time?
6.
I can't do that.
No, the 7th, not the 6th, the 7th.
7.
The 7th.
Tuesday, I know, I can't do the 7th. What did we
What time
say
is the
about the
meeting on the
6th?
What time is your meeting on the 8th?
6 p.m.
Did we rule out the 6th?
I don't think you'll meet rec committee. You don't meet in the beginning of the month. If you do meet, you don't meet the beginning of the
We
month.
might be
typically.
meeting early because of this, but
We can meet at
at
6.
6?
We can meet at 6.
Are you
Monday.
on the rec now?
Peter is.
Peter
Yes,
is.
I am. The rec committee is supposed to be on the 13th.
Are we on the 13th? Okay.
Yeah.
That's town meeting though.
No, yeah, because that's.
That won't happen. That's town meeting.
Rec is November 6th at 7 p.m.
November 6th at 7.
Can we meet at 6? Monday,
The 6th at 6.
Monday the 6th at 6? Can we do that?
I'm good.
In person, Zoom, hybrid?
Hybrid?
Hybrid.
Monday,
The
November
6th.
6th.
So we'll come here and then we'll go to rec.
Go to rec.
If you have it,
I
right?
think we have it at 6.
Scheduled for the 6th.
It's scheduled for the
For the
6th.
6th, okay.
All right, so 6 p.m. on the 6th. You guys taking notes?
Since I've been on the rec committee, we haven't had it on the day that it's supposed to be yet.
It's always
on the
that way.
committee.
Just a few months.
Just since the summer.
Yeah.
A summer appointment,
All right,
June or
'cause
July.
I've been at the meetings, I didn't see it there.
Peter
CPDC,
sits in the back, he sits in the back.
CPDC has his room at 7:30, but.
Oh, yeah, we'll be done way before that. All right,
Sure.
so for the five of us, Karen, does that work for you too? Because you're on Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and hopefully Heather and Andrew can make it. Conscom doesn't meet on Mondays. CPDC, oh crap, they meet on Mondays.
7:30.
Oh, yeah, 7:30, so it should be good, if they can make it. They don't
And then
have-
rec is at 7 on November 6th.
Okay.
November 6th at 6.
All right, so I guess,
I would like, because we haven't had this discussion with Heather and Andrew, I do feel it's important that they be able to participate, so.
their discussion or our discussion?
No, we haven't had this discussion. And they haven't been here, so I would like to hear them and, yeah.
We'll get their input, obviously, yeah. We don't have to rehash what we said, but they can.
Right,
they can-
that's why I'm saying I hope that it's
If they
we're-
come, hopefully they come, they can come.
Yeah.
Because we're picking it without them, hopefully they can come.
And we're voting on,
One agenda item,
excuse,
yeah, not discuss, vote on, I guess I have to word it right, vote on,
No, it should be discussed and.
oh, okay, yeah, discuss.
Discuss
Because-
and vote on recommendations for town meeting and. And the
Does
dog
that,
park too.
can we,
I
what
think
about the dog park? Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, I think we should make recommendations to town meeting on dog park and
I don't think town meeting has anything to do with dog park, right? That would be to the select board.
or select board. I
The
don't
town
know.
meeting, yeah, Karen,
Just
that
saying, the dog park was pretty low down on the survey, by the way.
I think the vote should be on, honestly, just the RPPA, not the dog park.
Okay, whatever. I think we do need to meet to tell select board what we
Yeah, that's,
need.
that'll be in December, we'll have a
Okay.
meeting in December. All right, yeah, so one agenda item, and then discuss future agenda items. Minutes, has everyone looked over the minutes that's here in the,
Issues.
all right, can I have a
Motion
Motion.
to approve the minutes as
submitted, is there a second?
Second?
Second, all right, gonna take a roll call vote. Karen,
yes,
Chuck,
Yes.
Nancy,
yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Carlo, yes. All right, next motion, please.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
second,
All right,
second,
roll call vote again. Karen,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Carlo, yes. Thank you, meeting is adjourned.